Hey guys, I'm Eric with American Trucks. Today we're checking out these Red Rock 4x4 OE style fender flares that fit all 2019 and later Dodge Ram 1500s except the Rebel and TRX models. Now you should really be checking these out for your truck if it is like ours and did not come with any kind of fender flare in the wheel wells and you want to upgrade to a more finished look and some added protection for those vulnerable areas. Now I really think from a styling standpoint, these look really good on our truck. We have the blacked out wheels, which you may or may not have on yours, but I'm sure you probably have the black trim up here as well as around the windows, and it kind of gives it a more complete finished look. Now I think the addition of the black fender flares on our truck looks really good. If you're looking for a more finished appearance that matches up with the color scheme of your truck, these fender flares are paintable as well. Now these aren't just for appearance though either, they do provide very valuable protection to a particularly vulnerable part of your truck. I think Dodges in particular are very vulnerable to rust and corrosion in the wheel well areas, especially in the back right here. If you look at a lot of older Dodges out there on the road, you're gonna see that bubbling up here around the arches. And what this is gonna do, because these fold in the inside, it's gonna protect that metal against any rocks or other debris that get kicked up by your back tires. Now the durable polypropylene material that these fender flares are made from not only provides protection against that impact damage, but you're gonna have a lot of protection against weathering and sun fading for years to come. You're gonna get a long life out of these fender flares. The other nice touch is this rubber weather strip that kind of works its way around the inside edge here to provide a nice bit of protection between this material and the painted surface of your truck. Now overall, working with these fender flares today is a little bit of a challenge getting started. Seating this weather stripping onto the edge there with its adhesive backing, it's a little bit tricky, but once you get it started kind of in the groove and just take your time, be slow and methodical and work it in there, it's gonna provide nice protection there. And once we got these on the truck, I found the fitment to be really excellent. There really are no gaps or warping or anything like that. It's a nice tight fit and it really gives it an OE grade finish. And with that quality fit and finish, you're looking at right around $225 for a set of 4 of these. I think that is money really well spent, especially if you're upgrading like we would be with this truck and you don't have anything there now. Really the level of protection in the long run, if you plan on keeping your truck for years to come and you don't want corrosion and rust starting in those wheel wells, I really think these are an excellent investment. Now, as far as the installation goes, guys, like I said, it's a little bit challenging getting this stripping material kind of seated on there, but once you get started, not too bad. I'm giving it a basic 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Expect to get all 4 of these installed in about 3 hours time using just some basic hand tools. So let's take a quick look at the tools you're gonna need and move ahead with the installation. All right guys, tools we're gonna use in this installation include a pneumatic ratcheting wrench, a Phillips head socket, an 8mm socket, a pair of scissors, and if you need some additional help getting the trim to fit in place, you have this tool that's included in the kit as well. All right guys, now to get started with our new Red Rock 4x4 fender flares, we first have to put this protective strip on here that has an adhesive backing on it, and we're gonna put that along the edge that is going to protect the painted surfaces on our fenders. And just so you know, sorting out which fender flare goes to which wheel well, it is pretty straightforward if you just kind of line them up. If there's any doubt, the plastic sleeves that these come packaged in have the lettering like this, FL for front left. And if your plastic sleeve does not have that sticker on it, you can always flip the fender flare over and look on the inside. Those letters will be embossed on the inside of the flare, just to make it perfectly clear which position on the truck these go on. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so we have our fender flare sitting with the inside facing up, and this rubber strip here has this adhesive on the inside here, and that's gonna go on the inside of the fender flare. So just to get it started, we're gonna peel back a couple, 2-3 inches here, and we're just gonna get it nice and snug and pinched on there. Start running it down, and as we go, just going to continue to pull more out. All right guys, we're kind of around the midpoint here of the fender flare. Just keep working it like this, and as you go, just stay a few inches ahead of where you're at with peeling the strip off. stuff is actually pretty easy to work with. And when we get down towards the end here, because this is one long continuous strip, we're gonna have to trim it at the end. All right guys, now we're coming down to the end here. Like I said, because this is one section for the entire kit for all 4 fender flares, we're gonna have to trim it here at the end. While this stuff is made out of rubber, it's not super thick or super tough, and we're just gonna use some scissors here to get it trimmed up. And we're gonna run it to about here, because again, the whole purpose of this material is to protect the painted surfaces of our fender. One trick here is you don't want to pull it too tight down here in the end. Anytime you have a bend like that, if you're pulling it too tight up here, it's going to want to pop out in the corner there. So you want to make sure that you're working that down nice and snug and keeping enough slack on it so that it doesn't want to pull out on you. Because if that happens prematurely, it just ruins the entire experience. All right, now we're down to this edge right here, and this is pretty much going to be the end of where your painted surfaces are, and this is going to be on the underside of the rocker panel. Again, making sure that's all nice and snug. Let's go ahead and get some scissors, and we'll just trim this right here. Then you can go back and press against the inner edge where the adhesive strip is. Once you have that done, you can repeat this process for the other 4 fender flares. All right guys, coming down to the end of our driver's side rear fender flare here. And same kind of thing, just be careful when you're coming into the corner here. And you really only need to run this down to the end of the flare so that you're protecting your painted surfaces. And again, as you get down here, I'm going to leave a little excess on here at the end, and if we need to further trim it once we meet it up with the truck, we'll do that. So I got a little bit of extra right here that will cover this groove here. If we don't need that, we can trim it back to this edge here, but it's always better to have a little bit extra on there. And then just as before, go back along and press in the adhesive strip all the way through. Now we can go ahead and start preparing the truck. All right guys, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these fasteners that are up along the inside of the fender well here, starting here and basically along the painted surface all the way down to the mudguard down here at the trailing end. Now to do these, you're gonna need an 8mm socket. You could use a hand socket. We have a pneumatic ratcheting wrench here just to make it faster. Now here for the plastic trim piece here, you're gonna have 2 bolts, and then there's like a pop clip type fastener that's down inside here. Ours has already been removed from previous video installations, but you're probably gonna have that on your truck. So go ahead and remove these 2 with your socket, and then you'll need like a flat blade screwdriver to remove that fastener. All right guys, now you remember the last 2 that we undid right here in order to get this plastic trim piece off. You're not gonna need this bolt here to help hold the new fender flare in place, but you're still gonna want it in here to help secure the wheel well liner. So go ahead and insert this back in, and we'll tighten this up before we put our fender flare on. All right guys, now just as with anything we do where we are installing a part that has multiple bolts or screws going into it at the same time to kind of hold one piece in place, you're gonna wanna get as many of them as you can started, keep them loose so you can kind of adjust it and make sure all the holes line up. Get all your hardware started before you start tightening anything down. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna get under here and get one started. And we'll keep doing that for the rest of them. All right guys, now we have all of our screws started back in place here. We're gonna go ahead and tighten them down. Again, an 8mm socket. Something I just want to point out real quick, guys, if your truck is like ours and you do not have a wheel well liner up top here, it means you're going to have a couple of empty holes with nothing bolted into them. That's fine. The kit, these fender flares come with extra hardware, including these threaded clips that we're going to end up sliding over these empty holes here, and then we're going to use these Phillips head screws to hold the fender flare up into those clips. So if your truck has a wheel well liner up in here, you might have hardware you can reuse. Ours does not, so you're gonna see the procedure for when your truck does not have that. All right guys, now to get our driver's side rear installation started here, we're gonna remove all the fasteners up that we have, including the one that's holding on this black plastic piece down here at the bottom. All right guys, now that first screw we took out is helping to hold in this plastic trim piece. Your truck may not have this. Every truck is set up just a little bit different depending on the trim level of your truck. But if you have this piece here, remove that screw, and then there are a couple of locking pins that push up into the underside of the metal here. And all you're gonna need to do is just kind of pop those down. You do need to take this off because the fender flare is gonna come down like this and then wrap around the underside. And it won't be able to do that with this piece there. So pull these out. And these pins right here are what we are pulling out from under here. All right guys, now just take the rest of these out, work your way around. All right guys, now we're going to remove this mud flap piece right here as well. It's got 2 screws here holding it in, as well as some kind of like plastic rivets that hold it to the underside here, but we should be able, once we loosen these screws or take those screws out, we should be able to slide this trim piece out. All right guys, now these 3 holes here, we did not have any hardware fastening anything in there because we don't have the upper portion of a wheel well liner here. So go ahead and take these clips and they just simply slide on over the opening there, and it provides some material that the new screws can thread into. All right, and just as we did up front, guys, we're gonna get a couple of bolts started, finger tight, and then on either side, and then we'll get all of them started, and then we'll start tightening everything down. Now these holes up above here, we're going to be using our Phillips head screws that came in the kit. And as you guys probably already noticed, I switched over to a Phillips head socket to do the hardware that's included in the kit here. And now I've switched back to the 8mm socket to finish these last 3 screws. All right guys, we're finished over here on the driver's side. Repeat all the same procedures on the passenger side. The installation will be the same over there as well. And that pretty much wraps up this review and install of these Red Rock 4x4 OE style fender flares for all 2019 and later Ram 1500s except the TRX and Rebel editions. And of course, for all things Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.